Well, Happy New Year, Leo. It's 2020. I'm Dadhichi from astrology.com.au for those of you that are new. And, I find that when you wish people a Happy New Year, it's okay for the first 72 hours maybe, but then the issue is, one of carrying around all that baggage from the past. That issue of letting go. And on the 11th of January, you'll note a very important transit, which is the eclipse, the lunar eclipse taking place here in your 12th house. And that's all about letting go, because this has to do with your past. So really the theme right from the get-go is this concept of letting go of your past. Notice here that the North Node, which is the karmic point, transiting here, when the eclipses take place, that always involves one of these 2 points, the North or the South Node here. This is going to remain here for a while, and you've got up till May 5th, when this North Node transits back out of this 12th house into your 11th house of friendships. So I think this is a strong basis for asking yourself, how are you going to move forward in 2020, and what are you going to do to make this a really, really brilliant year? We talked about this 6th house late last year, which is the concept of service. The idea of doing quality work, which has to do to a large extent with forgetting yourself. Leave aside all of the connotations of enemies, debts, disease. This has to do with the quality of your work, the service that you do. You'll notice on March 22nd, Saturn moves out of this area just temporarily up until July 4th. And that means it's going to retrograde back out of here. This has to do with your relationships, and you'll notice that Venus starts the year off here. You probably wonder why I'm not talking about January as such. Well, this chart for January really indicates the year as a whole. It's like the birth chart for 2020 for you. The strong sense of responsibility here is carried over from this 6th house of service into this area of relationships. So the letting go, I think, to a large extent has to do with burying the hatchet, letting go of those thoughts and issues that are dragging you down this year. And if you can do that, you'll find yourself a much freer person, if I could put it that way. The North Node is showing us where you desire, the South Node where you have to lose. And I think in some ways you're losing by not committing to what it is you're doing. That lack of commitment keeps your mind on other things rather than being fully trusting of the process of life. And that has to happen from a base of really loving what you do. So I think my main focus here in just a few minutes that I have is to focus on those things that I believe are going to punctuate the year and act as the main thematic drivers. On June 6th, there's a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, your 5th house. Some of you who've listened to me before talk about this house as the house of creativity and improvisation. Improvisation is at the heart of creativity. It's that being free in the moment, again, letting go, not just of the past, but also of the present moment. Letting go of your concepts, your thought constructs. Pardon me, I'm getting over a couple of bad fevers. So letting go is the secret. Improvising, being playful with your life. That lunar eclipse releases a lot of energy in this area and points in the direction of you doing what it is that you love, what it is that you feel you desire to do. That's the letting go of those things that are holding you back. The June 21st solar eclipse takes place back here in this 12th house. You'll see there's going to be a focus on specific houses or departments of life as I'm talking here. We already talked about the lunar eclipse starting the year off here in this 12th house. Then the June 21st solar eclipse comes back to remind you of what you have to do. Now, you may not feel so well at this middle part of the year. The sun is your ruling planet, so any eclipse, solar or lunar, is going to be very, very significant for those of you born under the sign of Leo. And the 12th house has to do with not just letting go, but it has to do with health issues. It has to do with that sense of being isolated or obstructed. It is a very secret house, and it has to do with your past indiscretions. So it's not a matter of burying this stuff under the rug. It's a matter of recognizing what's gone before and realizing that you can't change that for now. But of course you must learn from those lessons and use those lessons in any future interactions with people and the circumstances that arise. So creativity, letting go, you can see the theme that's coming through for 2020. After this, the next eclipses that take place are in November and December. A lunar eclipse in Gemini. Now there's a departure that has to do with the 11th house of friendships. And I mentioned already that your karmic point will be transiting back out into this area as well. So that is why the eclipse will take place here in November. That's going to refocus your attention very strongly. And it would have happened from as early as May. But you'll start to see a peak of this around November 30 into December, the very last month of 2020, causing you to rethink your relationships, reconsider the established order of things as far as your concept of friendship. I'm not talking about the concept of Facebook friendship. We're talking about the genuine, deep, spiritual bonding that is at the heart of true friendship. December 15, we see the solar eclipse again in Sagittarius. A reminder about this creative element. It also has to do with children. So if you're a parent, dealing with children and understand the mechanism of how children work, what their mentality is, what their perception is, how they live their lives. I'm talking about young children, not the ones that are old enough after the age of 10 or 12 to start becoming brats. But again, that freedom-loving mind, that spontaneous creativity that is what defines a child in those first formative years, when they haven't yet, when their characters haven't yet become set in cement. So do you see this year as being one that is really pointing in this direction for you, Leo? I'm not talking so much about specificity. I mean, if you want to talk about your career, we talked about that last year, and I will be addressing these issues month by month as we move forward. Uranus, of course, is going to present you with some very interesting career changes, but again, that I believe has to do with this creative impulse and bringing that to your work as well. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck, shown by the Taurus fixed sign on your 10th house. December 17 and 19 respectively are two very significant transits that complete what I consider the important transits for 2020. That is Jupiter and Saturn, both moving into this 7th house of relationships. And although it seems as if, nothing is going to happen for the whole year, that's not quite true. Venus there in the beginning of the year shows a lot of amorous desires, a desire to reconnect with the one you love. And of course, Jupiter and Saturn, for those of you that aren't married, the end of 2020, early 2021 is going to usher in a new period of your relationships, cementing them and even bringing you a more solid basis for the love that you've been seeking. There's more. I've prepared a yearly overview for 2020 for you, Leo, at astrology.com.au, 3,000 words, breaking down each of those departments of life, areas I may not have discussed that you're probably still wondering about. Click there, go and have a look at it. We've also got myself, yours truly, available for any personal readings if you want to find out what's happening in 2020, and I look forward to your company next month. Happy New Year. Bye-bye now.